The historic one-off Ashes Test match between arch rivals England and Australia has concluded with a lot too many exciting and mind-boggling performances being put at display by players from both the sides. This Test match utilized all the 5 days to entirety, and if this has you intrigued enough, stay tuned with me in this review of the Test match in this segment of the Outside View. To begin with, let's take a look at the big moments. Australia won the toss and opted to bat first, and they made sure to make the most out of their choice. First things up, it was Ellis Perry who started off the proceedings by hitting an impressive 99, albeit quite unfortunate that she had to miss out on her century by just one run. However, her 119-run partnership with vice-captain Talia McGrath ensured that it set the tone for Australia to be able to set up a high first innings total. However, the person who made the most out of the situation was Annabel Sutherland, who struck her maiden century. She became the fastest Australian woman until now to strike a century, and also it was the third instance where a number 8 had scored a century in women's tests. As for England's bowling, it was debutant Lauren Filer and Lauren Bell who shared 4 wickets between themselves, and the ever-consistent Sophie Ecclestone, the only spinner England opted for in their squad, who bagged a fifer. Australia were eventually bowled out for 473 in their first innings. Now it was time for England to start off with their batting, and Tammy Beaumont and skipper Heather Knight started off the proceedings. If Heather scored a half century, Tammy Beaumont started off by striking a sensational century. She now has a century in all 3 formats of the game and has become only the second cricketer to do so. But this wasn't only the point where Tammy Beaumont stopped. She continued with her impressive batting performance, only to be able to smash an outstanding double century and enter the history books like a pro. For Australia's bowling, Ash Gardner scalped a 4-for, while Talia McGrath bagged a 3-for, which eventually had England in their first innings getting bowled out for 463 with a deficit of 10 runs. Now Australia came out to bat in their second innings, and at this point both the arch rivals started getting quite hard against each other in what was a very make or break situation. Opener Beth Mooney majorly contributed with the bat, continuing from that 10-run lead which Australia initially had to be able to score an 85, while captain Alyssa Healy also contributed with a half century. As for England's bowling, it was always the Sophie Ecclestone show, as she bagged yet another fifer to finish with a 10-wicket haul combining both the innings. Australia were eventually bowled out for 257, setting a target of 268 for England to chase, and in the fourth innings, when England came out to bat, they started off with a flyer but couldn't last long, as Australia's Ash Gardner ensured that England's top order never quite settled into the game as she bagged a 3-for. At this point, the game was tantalizingly poised, quite interestingly, where in 90 overs, England needed 152 runs while Australia needed 5 wickets to win this one-off test. The final day commenced with Danni Wyatt and Kate Cross continuing the proceedings for England. Danni tried her best to ensure that England were in the chase as she contributed with a half century, but that didn't quite prove enough, as Australia's Ash Gardner continued with her brilliance and finished with 8 wickets. England were eventually bowled out for 178, thus allowing Australia to win this one-off historic test match by an impressive margin of 89 runs. Now let's take a look at who were the star performers from this one-off test match. Here we have our 3 picks, beginning with Tammy Beaumont, who had struck an outstanding double century. Hers became the highest individual score by an English woman in international cricket, the 5th best in Test, and she became only the 8th player to score a double century in women's Test, followed by Sophie Ecclestone, who finished with impressive figures of 10 for 192, only to become the 11th player to be able to take a 10-wicket haul in women's Test. And finally, Australia's Ash Gardner, who finished with figures of 8 for 66, only to become the second bowler ever to be able to take an 8-wicket haul in a single innings. By winning this one-off test quite comprehensively, Australia have managed to gain a 4-point lead in this multi-format series. Can England stage a comeback in the limited overs series that are to follow? Or will Australia continue their dominance? Only time will tell. With this, we come to the end of this review, and here's again a very gentle reminder to all our viewers out there to always stay updated regarding any sort of news on women's cricket in and around the world. Do not forget to always watch this space and keep following us on our social media handles. And you were watching another segment of The Outside View.